Lion Ted. I call him Lion Ted.
And Lying Ted.
Lion Ted Cruz, Lion Ted.
And Lying Ted. And Lying Ted.
Well, who said it better? They said the exact same thing. Donald Trump and Beto O'Rourke. What's everyone saying about Beto? They're like, he's Bobby Kennedy in his prime. He's light on his feet. He's full of charm and charisma. So I wanted to break him down and compare his communication to Trump. We're going to look at two pieces of communication, and I'm going to point out which one does which better so you can understand it. The goal of this channel is to get you the social skills that you need to get what you want out of life. And watching these people who do really well at specific things is a great way to do it. And this holds a specific spot dear to my heart, because here in Dallas, Texas, everyone always votes for a Republican senator, but Beto rose really quickly and became very close to knocking off Lion Ted Cruz in that Senate race. So he's clearly doing something right. And with all this talk about him potentially running for the presidency in 2020, I want you to get an understanding of what this guy's all about so we can know beforehand going in. So first, let's start out by watching this interaction, this speech, I should say, that Trump gave, and then Beto tried to kind of ride the success and say it himself, and let's see how it turned out for him.
Lion Ted. I call him Lion Ted. He holds up the Bible and then he puts it down and he lies. Okay, Lion Ted.
So Trump got a lot of momentum with that term. That really did stick. I still remember the name Lion Ted when I hear his name. And so what Beto O'Rourke's crew said, likely, was you got to use this too. This worked. You know what I mean? This is a great way to bring him down. Trump had a lot of success with it. So now listen to him say it in his debate.
He's dishonest. It's why the president called him Lying Ted, and it's why the nickname stuck, because it's true.
It sounds like somebody put a gun to his head and say this line. It's like a terrible actor. Do you remember when you were a kid and you'd hear like someone tell a joke and then you'd try to tell it and it just came across terrible? It's not congruent with who he is. Like, the worst part is, the funny thing about it is it's casual and flippant, right? Lion Ted. And listen to how he says it.
It's why the president called him Lying Ted.
That's why President Trump called him Lying Ted. It's not Lying Ted. It's Lion Ted. That's part of the funny part about it. So I think in this instance, he really, really chose poorly. I'm guessing he took the advice of some people in his campaign, because I don't think that's the kind of thing that this guy would come up with to say. And I actually think later on an interview, he said that that was the wrong thing to do. But is there really much importance behind that? Anytime a politician does something or says something that falls flat, they always renege and go back and say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't good. But what do you think would have happened if the crowd would have just exploded when he said that and been like, oh, yeah, people were laughing? He probably wouldn't have stepped back on it. So because it fell so flat with such a terrible delivery, he backed out on it. And what you can learn from that is never try to ride somebody else's wave. You know what I mean? Never try to completely reiterate what they say, especially if it's not something that you're congruent with and you don't believe in. Now, the funny thing to point out here is look at Ted Cruz's reaction when he says that.
It's why the president called him Lying Ted, and it's why the nickname stuck, because it's true.
The fakest laugh ever. Just immediately grabs the water bottle, gets so uncomfortable. He's not very good at hiding his emotions. But to finish this one kind of thought up, when Trump says things like that, watch him right here.
In the case of Lion Ted Cruz, Lion Ted lies. Oh, he lies. You know, Ted, he brings the Bible, holds it high, puts it down, lies.
How congruent is he with that? Like, that's who he is. And listen, I understand some people think that's great. Some people think that's terrible to call names like that, but it's definitely congruent with who he is. And that's why it's successful. If somebody who's not congruent and doesn't think about things that way and believe in that tries to deliver it, well, we see exactly what happened with Beto in this case. But it's not all bad for Beto, and all this talk about his charm and charisma is not inaccurate. In fact, he does have a very light way about him, and I want you to watch this question that he gets from a reporter, and they're kind of trying to drag him down into the mud. They're saying that Trump called him a name, and watch his response, and then I'm going to break down what I really see happening, kind of a nuance that I think is very important and has helped him establish his reputation.
President Trump has attacked you. He's called you a flake. He has said that you are, quote, a total lightweight.
I don't know that it makes any sense to respond. I think the kind of bitterness and name calling and partisanship that has unfortunately defined so much of the national conversation. You can add more to it, or you can stay focused on the future and why you did this in the first place. And that's what we've chosen to do in this campaign. So
how many people, when the debates first started with Trump, said that exact line? I'm not going to be drug into the mud. I don't think name calling's good for this country. But how many of them said it like this? How many of them had the same effect that this guy does? Why? Look at him. Everyone else got mad. You could tell their energy went down. Their whole state, everything about them got kind of balled up in an intense, angry ball. What does he do? A big, genuine smile. He sounds very genuine. He doesn't sound like he's trying to be like, my team told me, what do we say? We say, oh no, I'm not going to be drugged down into this. It's a very light, emotionally unreactive response, right? He's smiling, he's addressing it, but it doesn't pull down his energy at all, which is a huge sign of confidence. It's a huge something that people are attracted to. People love being around people who are unflappable and not pulled by one person or the other. Where if he's able to keep a nice light tone like this, it may be a good thing to do when you're going up against Trump. If he ends up running for the president or actually has some success, he may do that. In a video I put out last week, we saw Chuck Schumer in a negotiation with Trump or a discussion where he took a much different stance, where he was just basically bulldozing him, talking louder, pointing in his face. And we saw he had a little bit of success with that. And I see this kind of because, when Trump talks, he's very sure of himself, but he is pretty serious and aggressive, where somebody comes along and he's nice and light and he's tough to get caught up and he's light on his feet and smiling and he's got a nice aura around him. I can see that being another type of person that could give Trump a little bit of trouble. I think it's really interesting as we watch and get closer to this next election, who the Democrats slowly start to position to be in these positions to actually have a chance to run against Trump. And I think there's a lot of thought that goes behind it, and analyzing these little things like we're doing in this video, I think are being done all the time when they're trying to make those decisions. Donald Trump, whether you like him or hate him, speaks with a massive level of conviction. What does that mean? It means that you're communicating through your vocal tonality that you believe in what you're saying. And when you believe in what you're saying, it has such a big impact on if other people believe you. They've done studies where people will be riding in a car and there'll be somebody who's supposedly that's their hometown, and they're in the back seat, and somebody in the front seat who is just a visitor, just like the test subject who's driving. And the person who's actually supposedly from the hometown, when they say they're giving directions and they say, hey, I think we should probably turn left up here. And the guy who has no idea what's going on, but in a powerful tonality says, no, we're turning right up here. Almost every time the driver, the test subject, will turn right because of one thing, the tonality, the vocal power. And that's what Trump does so well. And if when you speak, maybe people ignore you. Maybe it's tough for you to keep people's attention. Maybe they don't stop and turn or give you the respect that you feel like you deserve when you go up and talk to somebody. That's a terrible way to feel. And if you do feel that way, I've got a vocal power checklist that you can actually get for free coming from this video. You can touch or click up here in the right corner, or you can go to charismamatrix.com/tonality checklist, and you can pick it up free there. And it'll go through 5 different things that you can immediately go through to get your voice dialed in so you can feel really comfortable and so you can command that attention and respect when you speak. Now, I'm putting out some videos that are more stories of my life and situations that I come into from day to day. And I'm not releasing them regularly on the YouTube channel. I'm putting links to them in my Instagram page, and they'll be unlisted on YouTube. So if you're interested in watching that content, I suggest you join or subscribe or follow me on Instagram, and you'll see those little posts right there. Now, if you haven't seen that video of Schumer and Pelosi kind of bombarding Trump in the Oval Office, it's a good one. I highly suggest you click here to watch that. Or if you haven't seen the one of Trump at Bush's funeral, where he kind of ignores the Clintons, all the hubbub about that, you can click here to watch that one. I'll talk to you over there.